Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to take a look at the Vermibag Max and see how it's doing after about 27 days since our last feeding. Now, I've been updating these systems a little bit more frequently, getting closer and closer to about that 2-week time frame. This is still a little longer than I want, but I really want to continue working with these systems that I have, getting them up and running. The Vermibag Max is one of my best systems because of the fact that it's got the red worms in it. And these red wigglers, they really survive cold temperatures and famine much better than I feel some of the other worms do. They're much more able to adjust but also recover faster. So with that, we've got a little bit of a feeding to give them with this, plus some of the output from our Foodcycler Eco 5, and along with our bedding material. Now with that, I'm really hoping to get the system start to really move again. As we get into summer, I start eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, and a lot of them I don't feel comfortable putting into my Foodcycler because of just the amount I have. I'm just going to overwhelm it. I can't run it 6 times a day when you're cutting up, a watermelon every other couple days and stuff like that. So I really need to get these systems up and working as fast as I can, and also with the output from my Foodcycler being able to go in there, and that way it gives them another option for food, but also some variety since it's dehydrated and dried out other food stocks that I have, including chicken and fish and things like that. So with that, let's take a look at our Vermibag Max, see how it's doing moisture-wise and everything, and see how the worms are doing, and let's get a large feeding going in there. Let's take a look at our system now. All right, here is our Vermibag Max here. Let's open this up, take a look. This one obviously has the mesh top on it, but I have to put it over this little cover here, and look at that. You can see there's a lot of moisture in there. Looks good. I've got my cover here. There don't see any worms on it. I do see some springtails, but this looks pretty good. A lot better actually than last time when we opened it up. I feel like this is a much healthier looking system. It looks like there's a lot of moisture left. Just grabbing my gloves here real quick. And you can see in here, all this material on top is wet. There's some worms going through it. They're going to start consuming this paper, which is what you want. Let's just dig down in here a little bit. Take a look at this material now. This looks like great material. Almost fully composted. You can see the worms. Tons of them here in this upper part of the soil. Looking really good. They're really breaking this stuff down. I'm just going to kind of scrape over the top surface here just a second here. Looks like we've got a couple worms that look pretty large in here as well. They're probably starting to, maybe they're mature worms. Maybe you're going to have some cocoons in here. This looks really good though. I mean, you can see just lots of worms in here. They're really starting to expand in the system. They'll expand quickly once they start getting more and more food, like I'm doing. And I've always found that to be the case, especially with these red worms. They expand really quickly. They breed notoriously well, especially when they've got the food to support them. And actually all the food in here is gone. This is a great sign. Let me just zoom in just a little bit more. Hopefully there's enough lighting in here. A couple of my lights went down, so I need to get some more lighting in here. But you can see how they're moving through the top part of the soil here. This is where the food was. The bottom side, not as many worms. That's where they've already consumed all their food. So they're going to the top, and they're just continuing to move north or up out of the system to get to more food. As that paper starts to break down, they would just start to consume that as well. Eventually, you would just see nothing left but this brown material that just looks great. So, all right, we're not gonna dig too deep into the system. It looks really good. The worms are doing good. The bedding material is still wet on top. I'm really happy with this. This looks really good. So what we're going to do now, though, is I'm going to add a little bit of moisture here. I'm looking for, instead of using my sprayer, I have my bucket of water that has carbon in it. So you can see right there, it's black. This has some of my charcoal that's been ground up into it. I'm going to pour some of that in here. We're just going to a little bit more water. It doesn't need a whole lot. I just want to get a little bit more water, and this is the same temperature as the water probably in here. But this stuff is just going to add a little bit of the charcoal mix to it, which is going to allow it to hold on to the nutrient material and microbes, hopefully pass through some of the worms in there and out through their guts, really get nice inoculated with material. So when I spread it in my yard, it's going to really already be ready to go and give that nutrient boost to my plants. So with that, we are going to add some food. Now, I'm starting to run out of food in my freezer, which is good. So I'm going to this is some spinach that went bad. Let me just add this in here. All right, there we go. That's just a little bit of spinach. I can get rid of this container. And I got one more thing that we're going to add in here as well. And that is, I've got some, just break this apart a little bit. This has a big chunk of ice on it real quick. Let me see if I can get that off here. I'm sure that's, there we go. You can see, look at that. Look at that big chunk of ice. Been in my freezer for a while. Crystallized, kind of a neat crystal formation there. I don't know if the camera's adjusting to it or not. There we go. It looks like it is now. But neat crystallized formation on the top there. But we've got in here some asparagus, coffee grounds, looks like some strawberry tops, some strawberries. So a variety of stuff in here. This is a pretty light, so I'm going to need to add some more stuff to this. This is a little lighter than I thought. I thought there was a little bit more in here. I couldn't tell because of the ice. It felt heavier. So, and it looks like it's got some lettuce in here as well. But this is a very small feeding, and this is less than I thought. So we're going to have to add some of our Vitamix, or I'm sorry, our Foodcycler output. And I keep calling it a Vitamix because Vitamix originally created it. But actually, it looks like it's just called a Foodcycler now. So we're going to add a whole bunch of this output. Give me just a second here. Because we want to really kind of load these up with food. We're going to add a little bit more in there because there really wasn't a lot of food in those two containers. So we're going to add a whole bunch of this in there. By the way, while I'm working with this stuff, I do put a mask on because it's kind of light and fluffy. So I'm going to add some more water to this too. I wasn't planning on adding this much, but I think we're going to add a whole lot to this. We're going to add some more of my charcoal water here. Because this stuff doesn't have any moisture in it. And it does need moisture. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to grab my sprayer. I think that covers it a little better when I use my sprayer. And for those curious, this is just a Richard water sprayer. Kind of does a better job of making sure it gets everything a little bit wet. You can see, I mean, there we go. Get everything just a little bit wet in here. That's going to help this start to break down. There we go. Let me just clean off my glove a little bit more. Now, I want to get it wet because I want it to be held down, but I also want it to be wet so it'll immediately be able to be consumed. This is a material that's been ground up nice and small, so it should break down pretty quickly in here. And now our last piece, of course, we need to add our cardboard that is pre-soaked. So there's water in here. I'm just going to turn this over. You can see the water. Ooh, there's a lot more water in there than I thought. Maybe it didn't get soaked up quite as much. I did add a lot of water in here when I did it this time. Normally I don't add quite this much. I do have a plastic container on underneath this to catch any water runoff. Hopefully it'll get soaked up in here, but there you go. We got a lot of paper on top here. And as I said, hopefully this becomes a good start for these worms to really expand and grow their numbers, because that's my goal right now with this system, is to build it up so I can start throwing full watermelons in here and really get this thing moving during the summer that we're about to, we're in spring right now, moving into summer here, and I need these worms fully going when we get to those summer months and we start really consuming a lot of fruits and veggies in the house, especially a lot of vegetables, a lot of watermelon and things like that. So that looks pretty good. And almost forgot. I need to put my cover back on here. This does keep that moisture in there, so that way the worms stay nice and moist, and it keeps the top moist as well. And that's it for this update. So these worms are looking pretty good. They're doing a great job of consuming all the food I've been adding. I think next time we'll add a bigger food feeding and less of a Vitamix or a Foodcycler feeding. But this was a good feeding. This was a good run for these worms, and hopefully next time there'll be twice as many. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions on the Vermibag Max here, please let me know. You can find a link down below, or the Urban Worm Bag, which is similar to this, but has a closed off top, or any of the other items. I have links down below. Thank you for watching.